Bishop Akio Johnson said a very honest statement that he thinks that all of us, and he spoke in the first person plural, doubted the existence of God at one point or another. Where the sun is almost eclipsed, you know, where it's just terribly dark and you can't see.
Sudan is one of Africa's biggest countries, and though very rich in natural resources such as oil, gold and copper, it is also one of the world's poorest. The south is tropical and fertile, inhabited mainly by Christians and animist tribes. The north is desert, overwhelmingly Muslim and site of Khartoum, the country's capital city, from where a fundamentalist Islamic government runs the country. Ever since Arabs first appeared in Sudan, there has been a conflict between North and South set against a racial, religious and economic background. In 1983, in violation of previous peace agreements, the Muslim government declared Sharia law throughout the country and began to severely discriminate against the black population. The resulting uprising that exploded in the South was headed up by the Sudan People's Liberation Army, SPLA. The government responded by launching a genocide campaign which initiated one of Africa's bloodiest wars. Numerous guerrilla armies have been part of this conflict, but none have sowed more death and terror than the LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army.
There is a long story about the wars that happened here. It's the history of this place. 3 different wars were fought in this Katire parish. When the SPLA came, they chased away the Katunga soldiers. And then during the next war, William Nuyon, who was the deputy of Garang, decided to break away from the SPLA mainstream. That was the Second War. And then the third one was the LRA.
The LRA, they said, gather in one place so that we can have a meeting. We shall now be your people. They seemed like they wouldn't cause any problems, that they would treat everyone well. That was their policy. After all the people had gathered, they said, we aren't angry, we are your brothers. We thought that they came in good purpose. When all the people arrived for the meeting, they started tying them up, especially the man, while the others stood fearful.
This parish was cut off from the rest of the diocese since 1992, so it was about 16 or 17 years since the last priest was here. The following year, in 2008, I decided to make a move.
There was no possibility to run away, and no place to go. They started killing all the men. I saw it with my own eyes. All the women and children were kept in that one place for 7 days. They all suffered from hunger. There was no food or water. Many children died from hunger. There was no food to eat, nor even water to drink. I saw it with my own eyes.
There was practically no road because the 2 bridges got blown up. It's about 50 kilometers from Torit. I went on a motorbike. It was a snail's speed. I fell down on the road several times, but I was persistent. I had to reach the people.
But some people managed to escape. I was among those running from the LRA, and I succeeded in escaping from them. I'm still alive because I ran for my life with all the strength I had. The others, who didn't have enough strength, were killed either with a panga sword or by gunshot. All my children died, except for these 3 whom the gods showed mercy. I ran away with them. 2 older ones stayed behind and were killed.
So when I crossed the first bridge, the night caught me. So I had to get my tent out, just put it up under one of the trees. It was very cold, but at the same time I was happy. I was looking forward to seeing the people here. So I continued my journey the following morning, and I arrived here around 10 a.m.
My 2 older boys died there, along with their father and my husband. According to the tradition, I was supposed to be inherited by their paternal uncle, but they have all been killed. With God's grace, at that time I was pregnant with my 4th child. It was God's providence.
Secede, a community that suffered a lot during the war. In 2002, the LRA executed almost 800 people. So an entire generation was wiped out. They were without the sacraments for 16 years. And they had sent messages saying, please come, we need to have the Eucharist. It's almost like the early Christians that Pope Benedict quotes in his document on the Eucharist saying, we can't live without the Eucharist, please send someone.
Then the celebration started. I remained here for 4 days. We started celebrating Easter Triduum. It was also very hard because here we've got a whole generation who does not know who the priest or religious person is. We were practically starting from scratch.
Although we experienced a lot of suffering, Father Ben prayed for us that we do not leave this place. All we want to do is look after the children that God has spared for us. But those women who are always drunk are those who have lost all their children. All their children were killed by the LRA, so they started to drink. Their decision to be drunk is simply out of frustration.
The LRA, or Lord's Resistance Army, was established in Uganda, Sudan's southern neighbor, in 1985. It is a fanatical guerrilla army dedicated to overthrowing the government and to rule Uganda. The LRA attack villages, burn, rape, murder, and kidnap children that they then integrate into their ranks by force and compel to fight. The youngest guerrillas no more than 5 years old. These abductions have not ceased. Many Southerners believe that in the 1990s, Northern Sudan's Islamic government hired the LRA to terrorize the South. However, the LRA offensive is but one part of an armed conflict that has been raging between North and South for over 20 years. During the war, over 2 million people lost their lives, and over 4.5 million people were forced to flee. The government's Islamic army carried out premeditated ethnic cleansing, mainly in oil-bearing parts of the country. No humanitarian aid was allowed, whilst crops and cattle were systematically plundered or destroyed.
It's a difficult thing, the most difficult thing to go to a family who've lost their parents, brother, sister, and to say, let's forgive our enemies. They don't believe it's possible. It was the biggest challenge to talk to them, to teach them to love each other, to forgive our enemies. Is it possible to forgive? How can I say it to someone whose mother was killed? If it happens once, you can bear it, but it's recurrent. I'm talking about forgiveness, and in the meantime, another person is killed. When the war broke in Torit, it was 1992. I was 12 years old then. We were traveling with people who were going to Uganda. There was shooting there. Many people actually died on the way. when we were on the move. We kept on running. The bullets could easily hit someone. That one got shot and died. There was blood splashing on people.